Welcome everybody to, it's now time to engage, invite, and inspire. My name is Katie. I'm with SRF Consulting in the Right-of-Way Department. It is my pleasure to announce Pat Bertagnolli. He's the Executive Director, Job Services North Dakota. He has extensive experience in the leadership position, most notable as a multi-state operations manager and workforce planning employee manager. Prior to joining Job Services, he was a Community Enhancement Director for Watford City and instrumental in engaging the community, establishing partnership and industry promoting student ambassador programs, and leading the community in its strategy to promote the benefits of working and living in North Dakota. If we could give Pat a round of applause.
Nice job. Okay, you go ahead. Well, thank you for coming here today. I appreciate the opportunity to get to speak to you folks. I just came over from Bottineau this morning. I was participating in a T4 over there, and when I'm done here, I'm going back to Bottineau because I got day 2 with a bunch of high school kids and being kind of intentional about helping them figure out where they fit in this world. But before I get started, I'm going to just tell you, I got my presentation today is really about real people, real stories, real impact, and I think you'll find it interesting, but I always like to start by telling my story. I'm not from North Dakota, I'm from the state of Montana, and spent 22 years with UPS, and I was based out of Helena, Montana. I was a UPS driver for 8 years, had a front row seat to supply and demand, then I went into management and multi-state operations, HR, employee relations, workforce planning, the whole ball of wax. Met a lot of great people throughout that journey from around the country, and one of the folks that I met, he was based out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and his name was Terry Moe. And in 2010, he left UPS to go help his hometown with an oil boom, and that hometown was Watford City, North Dakota. Terry reached out to me in June of 2011. He said, "I need an HR guy, and you're it." I said, "Thanks, but no thanks. I'm not leaving UPS. Not leaving Montana. Sure as hell ain't coming out to North Dakota." And he said, "Do me a favor, just come out and take a look at it." And that's a key takeaway for you guys today. He gave me a nudge, and I'll be forever grateful that he did that. So those dirty buggers flew a private jet into Helena, Montana, picked me up, brought me back out to Watford City. And I spent a day and a half out there just seeing what was going on out there. But I'm going to be honest with you, it wasn't the job that made me want to come to North Dakota. We went to lunch at a restaurant on Main Street, and the owners came up and introduced themselves, which I thought was very kind. They left, and we went on about our conversation. And as I was walking out of that building, one of those owners at the time, Angie Pelton, ran after me, and she said, "Pat, it was wonderful to meet you. I hope you consider joining our community. We'd love to have you." I tell people to this day, that's what got me. That community made me feel welcome, special, important, needed, and wanted, sealed the deal for me, and I moved my family to Watford City, North Dakota. And since then, I had a front row seat to the greatest growth in the nation from 2010 to 2020, fastest growth in the nation. And I literally have hired thousands of people who I watched flock from all over the nation to Western North Dakota to find great opportunity and the best version of themselves. It was so exhilarating to me. Here I am working for the state and the governor because I want to tell the world what I saw. I'm inspired, and I tell you, North Dakota is a very, very special place, and it's a place that offers a sense of community and belonging, and that's our strength. So when we look at all the stuff that's going on around the nation right now, I think to myself, how do we get back to the fundamentals of what makes us great? And I'm inspired by Vince Lombardi, who used to get in front of his professional athletes at the beginning of a training camp, and he'd simply hold up a pigskin and say, "Gentlemen, this is a football." I love that because he never let those players forget what their game was about, professional athletes. So I think to myself, what's our game about? To me, it's about people. And how do we get back to the fundamentals of what makes us great? And to me, it's simply, let's provide each other support and encouragement and find ways to bring out the best in each other. So I'll tell you about my move to Bismarck, North Dakota. My wife and I are not above anxiety and fear. Are we doing the right things? We're leaving a community that we love. My wife's given up a great job. She says, "Oh, this is too good of an opportunity. You can't turn it down." So we moved to Bismarck. The neighbors come over and start welcoming us. My favorite part of that story is Neil and Carrie Shea brought their 2 little girls over, Claire and Emily, age 5 and 3, and here's what they brought us. It was at that juncture, that's where North Dakota Nice starts, my friends. It was at that juncture we knew we were going to be okay. And I want to tell you a little bit about Claire and Emily, age 5 and 3. Claire has got so much to say, she runs out of oxygen, she reloads, and she's got more to say. She's going to be a great leader someday. Emily, on the other hand, 3-year-old Emily, kind of quiet, but she runs around the neighborhood, she wears a cape. I have a superhero living in my neighborhood. And I kind of sometimes think and reflect on the experiences that I encounter throughout life, and I'm going to tell you what I garnered from that experience. I want everybody in this room to understand that little Emily is only 15 years old, or 15 years away from graduating from high school and making that very important decision on where does she put her superpowers to work. Does she become a teacher, a doctor, a nurse, police officer, firefighter? Does she join the military? I don't know, but I can't wait to find out. I can't wait. But rest assured, my wife and I are going to put our money where our mouth is, and we're going to provide support, encouragement to little Emily, and even gratitude along the way, because we're both super fans of superheroes. As I kind of go around during my HR days, people like this recruiting story, so I'm going to tell this to you. At one point, I was working for kind of a larger organization. I had another larger organization say, hey, we want you to come over here and work. You've had some changes over there. I said, I'm not interested. Well, come on over. Just come meet the leadership team. So I did. I went over to Dickinson, North Dakota, met with the CEO, and there's a couple other of his staff folks sitting at the table, and they're waiting for a couple other people to show up. And so I asked the CEO, I said, how many employees you got? He said, 650. I said, how many recruiters you got? He said, 3. I said, okay. So the other people showed up, and he said, Pat, we're going to get right to your point, or right to the point. What's your secret sauce? I said, I'll tell you my secret sauce. I asked you how many employees you had. You said 650. I asked you how many recruiters you had. You said 3. My answer would have been 650 for both. I expect people to ride for the brand. I expect them to represent the organization for which they represent and advocate for the organization and advocate to their peers and their network to come and join that organization. And that takes a little work, which we'll talk about. So I did go to work for that organization, and under the condition that I can get the VPs, the managers, the supervisors all together, because we're going to talk about recruiting and retention. So I have this room full of all these leaders in oil and gas. I said, we're going to talk about recruiting and retention today, and my first question to you, we're going to throw a little North Dakota flavor in there. Are you guys all familiar with the NDSU Bison football team? They all nod their head. I said, my question to you is, do you think that that organization has a hard time recruiting great football players to their team? They're like, no. Why? Well, Pat, look at them. They're national champions. Got a great coach, great playbook, great mentoring program, culture and attitude of winning. I'm like, man, you guys are good. You're spot on. Well done, man. They got a deep bench of players who want to play for their team for all the reasons that you've just mentioned. I got a question for you. People want to play for your team? You got a deep bench of people who want to go to work for you? And if not, why? You just told me what that looked like. Oh, you could have heard a pin drop. One of the managers named John, and all these guys are still friends of mine to this day. John says to me, what are you insinuating, Pat? Great question, John. I said, John, people are coming out here to western North Dakota to kick the tires to see if this is a place they want to bring their families, John. Are you doing a check-in with these guys, John? Are you doing a 30, 60, 90-day check-in? No, I'm not. I said, would you? I'm not looking for anything fancy, John. I'm looking for a check-in. He said, yes, I would. I said, we're not done. I want to know what you're going to talk to him about on that first 30-day check-in. The VP of the division raised his hand. And he said, Pat, I got the first question. I said, hit me. First question is going to be, how's your family? Whoa, I like that, Greg. What's the next question? Pat, they've been here 30 days. They've had at least one, if not 2 paychecks. We're going to ask them if those paychecks have been accurate. Son of a gun, we're making this about them. I like where this is going. Third question, how's your training? Fourth question, is there anything we can do to make our training better? Fifth question, how's your integration into the community? Is there anything that we can do to help facilitate connections? Because we want you to have a great quality of life outside of work. And the last question, my favorite question, you know we're growing. We appreciate that you're here. We want to know, do you have any referrals for us? Not going to promise you're going to hire everybody you send us, but we promise we'll look at everybody that you send us. And I have based my entire life of recruiting on this. Birds of a feather flock together. So also during this time, I had the privilege of meeting Easton Stick, who plays for the Los Angeles Chargers now, and kind of followed him through the draft back in the day. And I really like what he said about being successful. And I'm kind of talking about the employee side now. And he said to be successful, it really comes down to work hard, be accountable, treat people the right way. So I kind of thought, I'm going to put that to the test. In my oil and gas days, I pulled the top 10 drivers that were hitting on all 8 cylinders, safety, service, production, revenue, the whole ball of wax, pulled them in and recognized them, took to breakfast, and I said, hey, part of this is to recognize you, but I also want to know what makes you great. And this is what they told me. They said, follow the rules. Don't shortcut the pre-trip. Standard operating procedures. Build relationships with dispatch and mechanic. Treat them with dignity and respect, and you'll get the same in return. Housekeeping, fuel trucks, fix chains, be a good partner to the next shift driver. Wow. I got the answers, man. So now I'm getting in front of the new drivers and new hires every week, and I'm like, welcome to North Dakota. And I'm like, how many of you want to be a top performer? And they raise their hand, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. You all want to be top performers. Well, as a courtesy to you, I went and got the answers to the test. And I really kind of advocate to any opportunity you can to share peer-to-peer feedback, because it means way more to them than coming from a manager saying this is what you need to do. So to me, don't just assume that everybody knows what example looks like. We have to actually show them what that looks like. Kind of a simple little survey that I've done over the years too. You know, when I'm trying to calibrate an organization, you know, tell me the top 3 things that you like about this organization. They're going to say benefits, open door, involvement in the community, all that stuff. I want to know what's important to them so I can go recruit people like them to come to the organization. List the top 3 concerns that you've got in this organization. You've got to face the music. You've got to face the music and deal with that. And my last question that I like to ask is, we need people. And what would inspire you to help bring people to this organization? 2 different trucking companies, this is what those drivers said to me. Why would we refer more people to the organization, Pat, when there's only enough work for us? I take that back to the operations team, and I'm like, here's what your people are saying. Oh, no, we got a call from ConocoPhillips and Oasis. They want more trucks. Your people don't know that. They're going to drag their feet. Try recruiting in that kind of environment. So the missed opportunity from the operations side of people, they should have got in front of those drivers and said, I got to tell you about a call I got. I got a call from ConocoPhillips. They want 15 more trucks, and here's why they want them. They love your service. They love your professional. My favorite thing, they love your safety. Nice job, man. Go hit your social media. We need people. So that was the missed opportunity. This is something I like to throw out as well. So all these HR systems are trying to figure out, how do we weed people out? I don't like it at all. How do we weed them back in? When I was in oil and gas, I had people applying for CDL positions. They didn't have a CDL. Can't hire them, but you know what I can do? I can tell them where to go get their CDL, and I can partner up with our neighbors on the west over there at Wilson State College in this example, and I can start feeding them people. So I just always like to throw this out. As you're weeding people out of your organization, if they're not a fit for you, educate and redirect. Send them back to me at Job Service North Dakota. Help thy neighbor. I'll go bird dogging, and I'll find a place for them to join Team North Dakota. So kind of this is my favorite part of my presentation. And this part that I'm going to talk about right now, I didn't plan to go down this road. I was led down this road, and this road's led me to you. So anyway, while I was in Watford City, I kind of feel like I got the answer to the test. And it really comes down to our ability to align our communities, schools, and industry. And I'm going to tell you how I got there. I was part of the CTE Dream Team over there in Watford City back in 2017 and 2018. Wouldn't it be nice to have a CTE center? Well, it's built. And during that time, I had no connection to the school. Justin Johnsrud invites me to a tour at the school, and then during that, he kind of thumps me on the head. He said, Pat, I know you're not going to hire high school students right out of school for truck driving and mechanic positions, but they're careers in our community, and these students need to know about them. I want you to think about that from your areas of representation. Do the school, do the students know who you are and what you do, and if they don't, get it to school. So he invites me to the school. I take the leadership team in there. We have a conversation. How do we align? They invite me to this career fair. All those kids came running up to me. How do I become a truck driver? How do I become a mechanic? That day changed my life. All those kids are from states from all over the nation. And I asked them, do you like it here? Oh, we love it here. I didn't know that. I'm vice president of HR for an organization. I'm not lobbying that. I'm not leveraging that. I'm not advocating for that. So I was so inspired by that day. I told the school, I need more. I need to get in front of the school. So they put me in front of the school, or the city, or the county, or the student council. And I get in front of those kids and I said, hey, I understand you guys like it here. I need your help. I'm going to tell you what I deal with every day. I got a guy out of Oklahoma. His name's John. His wife's a school teacher and his daughter's a sophomore in high school. John doesn't want to bring his family over here. I'm not going to retain him. I'm going to dump a bunch of money into him and he's going to leave. So we need school teachers, right? Yeah, we need school teachers. So my question to you students is this. If I can talk John into this, would any of you get on the phone with his daughter and just share your journey and your experience and let her know that it's okay here? I had some volunteers that day. There they are. That's my welcome committee. Those kids did such a wonderful job. They were so excited to help me and welcome people. And they said that, yeah, we'll get John's daughter over here and we'll let her know she's going to have some friends before she gets here. Well, Emma Mogan was so excited about it. She sent me an email and she's like, I am so excited about this. I've always wondered what I as a student athlete could do to help. Thank you for including us high school students. And when I say she's an example for all North Dakotans, her and her family have been impacted by the growth, but there she stands. Welcome to my community. How can I help? If I could have anything in the state of North Dakota right now, I'd ask everybody to be like Emma. Well, they weren't done. They said, if this is a problem, let's go to battle. Had these kids in front of over 600 oil and gas workers, and they get in front of those oil and gas workers and say, hey, understand that some of you don't want to bring your families here. That's not acceptable to us. They're like, excuse me? We want them here, and we'll help integrate them into our community. We have a SAD program, Students Against Destructive Decisions. We'll do whatever we can to keep them pointed in the right direction. Then they'd say, if you don't know this, but if you graduate from our school, you can go to Wilson State College for free. They're like, what? Old Emma Mogan get in front of them and say, we know you're not coming to our games because you don't know us. I'm here to represent our activities and our events. We want you at our games, and I'm going to tell you right now, right here, it's very important for us to have family, friends, and neighbors at those games. And just an FYI, it's you who are their family, friends, and neighbors. Those kids transitioned that community from a place to work and raise a family. That was pre-COVID. Post-COVID, got the rug ripped out from underneath us. We're like, oh my gosh, we started something. What do we do? What do we do? I'm going to tell you what we do. We adapt and we persevere. Those are my recruiters advocating to their peers, 400 students throughout the day that we got in front of, and they said, get off the bench, get in the game, start advocating for your community. Before that day, we had juniors and seniors. After that day, freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors. I asked those kids, what do you guys want to work on? And here's what they said. Mental health, promote an active lifestyle, inspire our youth. There they go, making sense again. So we went to work. Did a plethora of things on mental health, reducing the stigma around mental health. Count me in. But the story I always like to tell is about Alexandria, the top middle pitcher. She was one of my recruiters that day before. Her mom called me up and she said, can we come and visit with you? I said, come on in. They came in and she said, Alexandria wants to share her story with you, which they've given me permission to share with you. Alexandria suffers from anxiety and depression. It came to a head in November of 2019. She was hospitalized for it, got the help that she needed, came out of that experience wanting to make a difference and reducing the stigma around mental health. Their ask to me that day was, any opportunity to get her in front of people, she's ready to talk. So I got her in front of 4,000 people. Superintendent Kirsten Baszler was there, pulled her up on stage with us, handed the mic to Alexandria and said, you're up. She delivered a wonderful presentation about mental health and how important it is to identify these things and diagnose these things as early as possible. Alexandria now serves on a subcommittee for Vision West, a consortium that represents the 19 energy-producing counties in western North Dakota. And here's where she was last June, accepting her Youth Influencer Award. What inspires me about this story is that Alexandria and her family moved from Colorado to North Dakota in 2011 to pursue a better life. What inspires me about this story is not only did they find a better life, but they found a way to make it better for others. Welcome to North Dakota. So, Fill the Stands Active Lifestyle, this was kind of a fun one too. Now keep in mind, we got to find a way to create a great experience for our community so people stay. This is a great example of that. So we had our ambassadors give these little kids and Kids Stop a little run for the money for all week long, having all kinds of fun, and it ended with the varsity boys and girls basketball players handwriting an invitation, each of those little kids, inviting them to their game that Friday night. You see that bottom right picture? Oh, we got spirit. Yes, we do. We got spirit. How about you? But I got to tell you about little Sophie in the top right. Her mom, after the game, came up to me. She said, that was pretty sneaky sending home that invitation with Sophie. She goes, I got to admit, I didn't want to go to the game. And I tried to bribe Sophie with ice cream and a movie. They're not going. You know what she said to me, Pat? We got invited by a basketball player, Mom. We're going to the game. And she said, I will admit, we had a good time, but I also got to say thanks because now Sophie wants to be a cheerleader. I said, well, that's fantastic, Holly, but I'm going to be honest with you right back. I already knew you didn't want to go to the game, which is why I went to Sophie. And keep in mind, try to figure out how to create an exhilarating experience for people, Holly. This is just a pilot. Oh, we still have football, wrestling, volleyball, concerts, choirs, plays, hockey, gymnastics. We just got a whole plethora of things. So put your seatbelt on because I'm going to take you for the ride of your life. But the good news is you already know the name of your tour guide. Her name is Sophie. So this was kind of another fun one too, and this is kind of coming out of COVID, and trying to get people rallied back up. But one of the favorite things I used to do is I'd take high school kids into the elementary schools, working with the principals, advocating for the basketball program, for example. And the coaching and the training that I gave to these high school kids, we'd literally talk to 500 elementary kids in a 2-hour period during their lunch. And they're always excited when we're coming in. What are you guys talking about today? But anyway, the coaching I gave to these kids is I said, you hand that little note to them about the basketball program. You look them square in the eye and you say, we need you. And I swear to God, these little kids are like, okay. They guard that note with their life. They get home at the end of the day. It's all wrinkled. They tell their parents they said they need me. Growing the program by 40%, time and time again. And then I go back to those high school kids. That's how big of a deal you are, man. That's how much of an influence you are to those little people. They're never going to forget the way you made them feel. And when they get up, they're going to do the same thing. And this is me just kind of advocating for these students to get off the bench, get in the game, and help advocate for your community. But I want to tell you that top story there with the figure skating. Macy France, who's at Bismarck State right now, going into nursing, great kid. She was worried that people weren't going to go to her figure skating event. And I said, let's go visit our little people. So we went in there, first group of kids we get in front of, the first graders and kindergartens, and they're like, what are we talking about today? Great question. These guys are figure skaters, and they're really good, and they want to know, you want to go to the show? Yeah, when is it? I said, it's Friday at 7, Sunday at 4. These little first graders and kindergartners got this perplexed look on their face. And I'm like, what's the matter? The little spokesperson said, we go to bed at 8. I said, go on Sunday. Problem solved. We had 1,100 people show up on Friday night. We had 1,100 people show up on Sunday. The decision maker in the house is 3 feet tall, my friends. But when we had that many people go in, I'm going to tell you, people, I'll say, what's in it for me? What's in it for me is when you create an exhilarating experience for your community and they actually get out of the house and go enjoy that experience, they don't ever leave your community. That's what's in it for me. So I just shared this in Botno today, with these students, and I said, we don't have enough people in the state of North Dakota. I'm going to talk about that here in a minute to fill our open jobs. So this is a simple little act of kindness that you can do for people coming into your community. This is an actual family from Georgia, oil and gas family, who moved to the community, and those kids took the time to give that family a nice little tour. Katie in the yellow wants to be a nurse. We connected her to the hospital. Her 2 sisters to the right of her want to be a school teacher, so we connected them to mentors on the school's teaching side. And that little girl in the orange, she wants to be a police officer, so we connected her to the police officer in the school. If it's important to them, it's important to us. And I want you to think about the call that mom likely made at the end of the day, calling back to Georgia to her family and friends. I got to tell you about my day in the state of North Dakota. That's brilliant. And these kids are leading that. So anyway, some cool things here. I've had these kids on podcasts hitting shell plays across the nation. And my favorite thing about what they say is the reason we love North Dakota is we have a voice. And I think that our opportunity as adults is to figure out how to facilitate that. But one of my favorite things at the end of the summer is we do a Meet the Wolves. We've got a ton of people coming in the communities, and this is something I want statewide. The reason I'm telling this story, I want this across the entire state. But I want the community to be so intentional about new people moving in their communities. At the end of the year at the farmers market, bring those kids in, bring the community in. Let's introduce ourselves to the new people in the community and hand them a poster. And tell them, hey, welcome to our community. Come to our games, man. And really help facilitate that connection. I'm not in Watford City anymore, but these kids are still doing wonderful things. They hosted 2 cultural food fairs in their community, celebrating the 25 countries that are represented in their community. They're just doing wonderful, wonderful work. I had the chance to visit with Nana from France. 13 foreign exchange students came over here, and they actually won a national award. But I talked to Nana, I said, when you first found out you're coming to North Dakota, what was your thought? I was scared to death. I heard it was just prairie and cows. I said, now that you've been here for a while, what's your thoughts? I love it, and I don't want to leave. We've got 13 recruiters in other countries that have a way different narrative about North Dakota that I happen to be a fan of. So Aiden Pelton, when I told you about that lady that ran after me and said, Pat, hope you consider joining our community. Well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. That's her son. And he won an award for just some of the things that they're doing over there at the Ed Summit last fall in West Fargo. Let's go back to Emma, because something happened that I didn't see coming, but it makes perfect sense. So she's telling me which pictures to use. Started with that one, then it went to that one, then it went to that one. Anybody see what I see? We turbocharged her connection to her community. Wearing a shirt with the state of North Dakota and the word home. So Emma, when she graduated from high school, she's at Minot State right now playing basketball, started as a freshman, good kid, pursuing nursing. She sent me a nice thank you note. She said, hey, thanks for starting the ambassador program. I gained a lot from it. I hope this next group does too. Well, I called her up, said, thanks for the thank you note, Emma, but I got to clear something up with you. She said, what's that? I said, the program, Emma. It never ends. Never ends, Emma. You're going to school to be a nurse, Emma. It's just a matter of time before I ask you to bring an out-of-state nursing student back to your community, the community that you love. She said, I never even thought about that, but count me in. I spoke at the Dakota conference, a healthcare conference last summer. And I wanted to take that thought just one step further. And I asked them, anybody interested in what they see there? We got to understand that these kids grow up. I don't know those kids up on that stage with Emma, but here's what I do know. Every one of them's going to love her. They're going to love her stories about how she was able to make a difference in her community as a high school student. Of course, now I got a delay. Oh, there we go. So as I travel around there, sometimes I'm having a blast discovering all these communities across the state. This is Hankinson, North Dakota, kind of a new platform for me. I had Representative Schreiberbeck with me, Zach, our policy advisor from the governor's office. We went out there, I got in front of those high school kids over there, and I said, I'm going to go visit businesses in your community today, and everyone's going to tell me that they need people, so here's what I want to be able to tell them. We got to bring people into Hankinson, North Dakota, so if we do that, are you guys going to be welcoming? I need you to be welcoming. I need a nod. They're like, yeah. Okay, I said, we're getting somewhere. So I go out there and visit these businesses, that machine manufacturing, or machinery management. I'm talking to those folks, they ship heavy farm equipment around the world. I said, how'd you start this? 20 years ago, Pat, we went on a mission trip to Ukraine. ran into the right people, and here we are today. And that was the dad, and the daughter goes, we got customers in 75 countries. I'm like, excuse me? What'd you say? I said, do the high school kids know that? No. I said, why? Dad says, well, we don't want to brag. I said, that's not bragging, my friend. That's community pride, man. I'll tell you what, I'm here today because you don't have enough people. And I'm telling you, if those high school kids know that Hankinson, North Dakota is impacting 75 countries around the world, I guarantee you people are going to start knocking on your door. I would have a world map up in that high school with a little frickin' pin in every country that this little community is having an impact around the world. That's the type of stuff that I see, and I'm not taking a shot at Hankinson. I love Hankinson, but to me, it's complacency. We got to get out there and we got to tell our stories about things. Scott at ID Machine builds parts for Bobcats. He has coffee with his dad every morning. His dad's 75 years old. He's a president. He has coffee with all his buddies, all that other stuff. And I called Scott out in the community presentation at the end of the day. I said, Scott, as simple as that story was, it meant everything to me, because I'm going to be honest with you, that to me is the pathway to how to leave a legacy. So, I am on the CTE board for the state of North Dakota. The DECA conference was here this last Sunday. I spoke to the college DECA students over in Fargo about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. I'm going to be getting in front of the FBLA students. I'm going to start challenging them. I'm going to ask them to invite me back to their community. I want to hear their stories, and I can't promise attendance from these folks, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to invite their city administrator, their city county commission, their mayor, and their representatives from the legislature, because we're going to come together and we're going to find out a way, how do we position and make sure that we're building these communities, building that culture that people want to be a part of, being competitive, in having people want to choose our communities. So I'm very excited to work with those folks coming up. Can't not tell this story. I spoke at North Dakota Parks and Rec in December, and one of the region managers, Justin Robinson, shared the story about his daughter, Eva, who is a high school senior. She's homeschooled because she has such an intense schedule. But they told me this story about, as she travels around to do her racing, nobody even knows her name. They know her simply by North Dakota. And she's so proud of that she made her dad buy her the North Dakota flag, and they mounted and raised that flag at the Junior Iditarod in 2022. I was so moved by the story, and there's so much more to that story I wish I had time to tell you. But I shared that story with the Lieutenant Governor, and after that, they gave me a flag that flew the Capitol that I delivered to Eva's mom and dad before she departed to Alaska for this last Junior Iditarod. And the Lieutenant Governor was so kind, she put a post out there just letting her know that we appreciate her example and her representation of the state of North Dakota. Kind of a cool story here that I love to share, just to kind of provoke thought, but the Williston and Watford area got some funding on building a beyond visual line of sight drone network. Tommy Kenville, the CEO of Eyesight Drones out of Grand Forks, is setting up shop over in Watford City. And this is when I was over there. He said, Pat, I need some help getting the word out. I said, you got it, Tommy. I'll set up a presentation for K through 5th grade. He said, excuse me? I said, trust me. So I get these kids together. I invite KFYR TV and the Williston Herald, all these people over there, and those people get up there, start talking about the drones. Hand goes up. My mom's a police officer. How does this help her? Great question. Let's just say there's an incident on the outskirts of town. Your mom could zip a little drone over there to kind of assess that situation, see what kind of resources she needs. My dad's an oil truck driver, and how's this help him? My mom's a nurse, the whole gamut, every industry. And what I love about that population is every one of them had at least one question. So we were so excited about that. So we go out to the baseball field, we fly a drone, take a picture, send it home with them, because I don't ever want them to forget that day. Tommy did a nice little job putting together a flyer that we sent home. Parents, thanks for letting us spend time with your kids. Here's what we taught them. And then Michael Anthony with KFYR TV is interviewing that little 5-year-old. He's so excited he wants a drone today so that he could do his part, fly the city, do his part to protect it. Renee from the Williston Herald quoted me as saying, as excited as we are about the innovation going on in our backyard, we most certainly cannot forget to take the kids along for the ride, because at the end of the day, what we're building is for them. So I love that story. And the moral of that story, too, is that I know that those kids, at the end of the day, sitting at that kitchen table, motor mouth their parents about their day. And I will tell you, from my perspective, the best educators we've got in our communities are K through 5th grade. They're excited about everything, as am I. Telling stories. Storytelling's a big part of it. As I travel around, too, I'm kind of advocating for the media to be a part of the storytelling. You know, I go to rugby, I meet Sue Sitter, who used to write for the Sacramento Bee, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're my story, Sue, but I got to be honest with you, Sue. I was at your hospital in rugby today, and there's 7 high school kids doing work-based learning. Where's the story, Sue? This is this kind of stuff that I want other states reading. she knocked out a great story. I go to Grand Forks, Joe's from Florida. He's now coaching youth hockey. I said, Joe, you're my story. I go to Wahpeton, and Frank over there, he's from Michigan. I'm like, Frank, you're my story. And so I always like to kind of throw out that theme about just getting them off the bench and let's get some storytelling. I know it doesn't always sell newspapers, but we got to have some good news out there. So having a lot of fun out there with that. A little bit about Job Service. We've got 3 divisions. Most of you are familiar with our workforce service. Obviously have the unemployment and the labor market information side of things. The stars are where we have offices. The little red dots are where we do outreach. And I'm going to tell you, I've been with Job Service for 2 years. I was a customer before I came here. But what inspires me about this team is we're flat funded. We're down 40% staffing over the last decade, doing more with less. I know you all read that book. But what inspires me about this team is that despite getting knocked off that horse more than once, they get back up, dust themselves off, and they get back on the horse, and they go ride for the brand. And that brand is North Dakota. So I don't have a lot of time to go into, these are the governor's key strategic initiatives, but I want to just kind of tell you, I can't put more work on the team, but I can figure out a little bit more about them and how do I celebrate individuality and all that other type of stuff and take who they are and strengthen our organization, build the brand, elevate the brand, all that stuff. So we would put together all these stories about just our people and finding out who they are, what they're passionate about, all those type of stuff, leveraging their strengths, and really just doing some wonderful things to really figure out how do we leverage who they are. And then we also brought people in outside of our agency to kind of provoke thought. Recovery Reinvented, Josh from Commerce, Melissa when she was with the Find the Good Life, and we're just provoking thought, and we're just listening to people and thinking, okay, here's these people who want to make a difference in this world. How do we align with them? And then we came up with some strategy teams, but at the end of that exercise, we ended up with world-class engagement at Job Service North Dakota, which is no easy feat. These are a lot of our services. The We Owe a program, I'm just going to tell you, Bismarck State's consistently booked in their CDL program where they're getting their people. 40 to 60% are coming from Job Service North Dakota. On the H2A, another little brag point for me. Our team has gone out and done over about 55,000 miles going out and doing housing inspections to help facilitate bringing in 3,700 foreign workers to help our farmers and ranchers. That's all pure labor, my friends. They're out there hitting and hustling every single day. And then I think about the transportation group and I think, what's our opportunity to align with you guys? And although we don't have it completely figured out, it's going to be something wrong with that. We're very proud that we've done those 55,000 miles without an accident or a fatality. And we're going to find a way to lobby and support you guys. Your mission is our mission. We're going to start advocating for that Vision Zero because we believe in your mission on that and our opportunity to help advocate for that. Virtual job fairs 2023, we're working with Game and Fish, Commerce, Parks and Rec, all that stuff. Got to sell the whole package. It's not just about the job anymore. We're gaining some momentum working with the Find the Good Life program. This year, we advertised in 6 states and we had 23 states show up, 21 countries showed up. Fantastic. We're actually even working with corrections. We have a whole JP3 program. We're working with these folks coming out of corrections, helping them on the successful transition out of the corrections. But we're just having some fun with this type of stuff, and I like to show this slide just to let you know that people are shopping North Dakota and advocating for you in the industry and our youth. Some of you may have heard of CareerView XR. They've just distributed these virtual reality goggles to every school, and then Job Service will be distributing to the schools that they missed. But what I love about this is these guys are taking, you can't get all these students out to your location to show them the work and that type of stuff, but what you can do is video and create that experience from your location and take it to the students. What I love about this platform, we're building it around the in-demand jobs in the state of North Dakota. We can be way more intentional in making sure that every frickin' student across the state of North Dakota knows about the great jobs in North Dakota so we can do a better job and increase our probability of retaining them. Working as one, we're teaming up with DPI and CTE. This is our virtual reality platform on that type of stuff to help advocate for those folks who are doing great work. We've also done 3 webinars at Job Service North Dakota, and it's on our website. Homework for you. At a very minimum, please go watch that work-based learning one. I'm going to tell you that from my private experience, I know that Department of Labor is scary, workforce safety is scary, so I've outfoxed you all and pulled those folks into this webinar to kind of help advocate for work-based learning. We all got to pick up our game on that, but some great webinars out there. And I got invited to University of Mary, and I want to build a relationship with all the colleges around the state of North Dakota, but I went to their student move-in day, and why I did that is I was inspired by the fact that 60% of their students are from out of state. I want to go hunting and try to figure out how to win them over. So part of how we're going to pull that off is I got 2 students from Watford City that I worked with. They're going to nursing over there. Pulled them into the governor's office. They got to share their story. We're going back to Watford City. Why you go back to Watford City? Well, because we had a wonderful experience. Okay, can we do that at every community across the state of North Dakota so these kids come back? Well, anyway, I'm putting them in position. We're going to get in front of all the University of area students, and we're going to talk to them a little bit about inclement weather and how safe driving tips. I got the Highway Patrol going in with me. And what I told the Highway Patrol, Colonel Solberg, he set me up with Sergeant Jenna Hubrights, who's a freaking superhero if you know her. But we're going to go in there. We're going to be grateful that they've chosen North Dakota to pursue their education. We're going to be welcoming all those types of things, but we want to enhance their experience, make sure they have a good experience. One of 2 scenarios. 1, so they have a great story to tell about North Dakota. 2, my preferred would be that we win them over and get them to stay in North Dakota. So North Dakota Career and Technical Education, I want you to see that picture of those kids. You got a bright, bright opportunity if you get into position and be a little bit more intentional about helping them figure out where they fit in this world. But this is another story I shared with those kids today. So when I was in Watford City, my last private industry experience is hiring 15 people a week from all over the nation. I got in the game on work-based learning. We pulled Peyton in, originally from Wyoming, to teach him a little bit about mechanics. And he's still in McKenzie County, just by the way, working as a mechanic. But I took the opportunity to leverage and partner with Peyton, and we went and had hats made up with the Watford City mascot, the company logo, and we invited the employees to go to his game. And that picture on the bottom left are our employees. It was at shift change. We had more show up, but that's Peyton and his mom and dad on either side, and we simply called that United We Stand. So I tell students from around the state, I need you off the bench in the game, working for these companies. They need you. But when you get in there, here's what I want you to do. I want you to invite them to your concerts, your plays, your games, all that other stuff. And if you do that, I promise you're going to help that organization build a culture that people want to be a part of. The labor market, we got about 15,000 jobs out there. If you notice that out of all those jobs, 36% require a bachelor's degree or higher. What it doesn't say, 64% don't. That's what I'm absolutely in love with this whole CTE movement and momentum that we got going out here. We're very intentional setting these kids up for success. And bad news, we got great labor force participation rate, known as the hardest working state in the nation. We're consistently in the top 3 in the nation on our labor force participation rate. Basically, I show this slide to say we don't have enough people in the state of North Dakota. So where I go with that, and we'll use Burleigh County, and I'll tell you from a statistic standpoint, the thing that is most impressionable to me is that out of the almost 100,000 people we have in Burleigh County, 28,000 were born in another state. I'll kick that up a notch. We have 783,926 people in this state. 37.8 weren't born in this state, which tells me that we have 296,324 people not born here. I absolutely believe that we have a network out there that we're not tapping or leveraging as much as we could. We got family, friends, and former neighbors out there, so start nudging. I told you my story. I said no to North Dakota. We got to start nudging. That might sound a little pie in the sky, which is why I'll show you this. This is the team that I left in Watford City. You'll see there that 75% of the people in that picture are not from North Dakota. How'd they get here? Well, somebody engaged them, somebody invited them, and we all inspired them. And one of the last projects I worked on in Watford City, this is Dr. Merstrapa from Florida, coming out to take a look at the community, a hospitalist position. The day she came out there, it was 35 below zero. Said to her, I said, a little cold out there, isn't it? Yep. I said to the ops manager from the hospital, I said, if she gets a job, is it inside or outside? Oh, it's inside. Oh my God, fantastic, 68, 72 degrees, you can't beat that. But anyway, introduced her to everybody on that previous slide. And at the end of that tour, she said, oh my God, the humanitarianism here is just wonderful. And if you remember how my story started, I took her picture because I wanted to start her and her husband's story, and I simply sent that back to them. And I said, Dr. Merstrapa, it was wonderful to meet you. I hope you consider joining our community. We'd love to have you. She accepted the position at 35 below zero, so I don't want to hear excuses about the weather going forward. And again, people are looking for a sense of community and belonging, and we're it. So I've been kind of sharing my why a little bit with high school students around the state because I worry about them a little bit with this perfect life that they live on social media. And my why is the day I got appointed by Governor Burgum, I'm just going to be honest with you, I wasn't voted most likely to succeed for my high school in Three Forks, Montana, over by Bozeman. But growing up, well, I'll just back up here. So the day I got appointed, I kind of thought to myself, I sat down and I kind of reflected, and I'm like, how did I even get here? And that day I made some phone calls back to these folks in Three Forks, Montana. And the story is, my dad was a small town doctor, and his after hours phone number was our home phone number. I had people ringing our doorbell at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's just how I grew up. But also during that time, my mom was battling an addiction to alcohol and drugs. And my dad got her to go get help and treatment when I was 9 years old, and I still remember it vividly. It seemed like she was gone forever, but when she came home, she asked my dad for a divorce, and she said, you can keep the kids. There's another way of saying that. I don't want the kids. How do you explain that to a 9-year-old? Well, I will tell you that I learned a little bit about forgiveness at a very young age, and I'll tell you my mom went on to do great things and helped a lot of people. But the day she left, she left. How did we get through that? Our friends. They showed us empathy, compassion, and kindness. Kept us busy with basketball, football, baseball. We played games. Their families supported my dad and helped us. Took us hunting, fishing, and even flying. The day I got appointed, I called the Obergewich family and said, I got some great news to share with you. Well, we're listening. I got appointed by the governor. Oh my God, Pat, that's fantastic. We're proud of you, and your dad would be proud. I said, I appreciate that. That's not why I'm calling. I'm calling to say thank you. You're the reason I got appointed. I said to them, you guys made my twin brother and I feel loved, valued, appreciated, respected, and cherished. That's the secret sauce to life. I'm telling you that right now. I said, you guys got me my first job when I was in high school. I worked at Madison River Cattle Company from the time I was a sophomore to a senior. So I just want to say thank you. I couldn't call the Fairhurst family because they've since passed. But the one on the right, that's my math teacher. I called him too. Same story. He said the same thing. Oh my God, Pat, that's fantastic. I'm proud of you, and your dad would be proud. I said, I appreciate that, Mr. Nordahl, but that's not why I'm calling. I said, I don't know if you remember this, Mr. Nordahl, but I most certainly do. I was struggling in high school with low self-esteem, low self-worth. And you called me back to your desk, and you said, bring your book with you. So I did. I came back to your desk. I laid my book on your desk, and you said, you understand what's going on? I said, nope. And you helped me with my math. And you paused for a moment, and you opened up your desk drawer, and you took out a piece of paper, and you wrote your home phone number on that piece of paper. And you handed it to me, and you said, Pat, you call me any day, every day. I'll stay on the phone with you until 10 o'clock at night. I believe in you, Pat. I said, that meant more to me than you'll ever know. I didn't think I was worthy of it. I took you up on it. But today, Mr. Nordahl, I'll call to say thank you. You're the reason I got appointed, but you're also the reason I have a college degree. I share this with you because it really comes down to, my entire presentation comes down to, when I talk about getting back to the fundamentals of what makes us great, steal the words from the governor. He's got 6 words that he uses frequently. And those 6 words are empower people, improve lives, inspire success. Part of my message here today is I want you guys to ride for your brand, and that brand is your community, your schools, and your industry. And my favorite part from that perspective is what I get to see, and something I don't ever want you to ever forget. We are North Dakota, and this is home. Thank you.